Human beings will underestimate any complex task, even if they are aware of Hofstadter's law, including you, including me, including Douglas Hofstadter, because it's what human beings do. We underestimate complexity. Even if we know the complexity is there, we underestimate the complexity. And then, as a solopreneur, as somebody sitting and working at home, as a member of a team, as a service provider, as whatever you might be, people come to you for value, and then you try and provide that value in a window of time and a window of opportunity that meets their needs. So, very quickly, right now, we are all taking on work. We do not understand the complexity of that work. Therefore, we always will underestimate that work. Just weird things happen, things we're not expecting happen, and then we have to deal with them. So, in the article that accompanies this video on Substack, you will see that there is a lot of different ways that we can deal with these things. The quickest and easiest one to describe is to use AI when you're planning, to ask it questions like, this is what I'm planning. What could possibly go wrong? What problems have people found in the past that they need to deal with? Not so that it can fix your complexity for you, but so it can do one of two things. One, it can say, you are underestimating this, and if you just take this into account, it will probably help. So it will show you where someone else has solved the problem. Or it will just say, this has been a problem for a lot of people, and off you go. Now, of course, it's AI, so it's wrong quite often. It overestimates, it underestimates. It will often try and find something that's wrong when it's not. But nonetheless, AI is really helpful for this. It is like a wonderful use of it right now. But what I want to talk about here is this Kanban. So this Kanban is specifically set up for us to take in work and then kind of visually undo some of Hofstadter's law. So let's say, for example, that I have a bunch of work that's coming up here in the last, this first column is options column. And so I want to just do a very quick exercise to show me what may or may not be in danger of being underestimated. And it's your discomfort that is the major arbiter of that. So you can say, oh, I'm really worried about this ticket, and this ticket looks okay, and I'll come over and grab this ticket, and this ticket looks just fine. So you got your three bears, three little pigs, three things where it's like, just totally comfortable, not so totally comfortable, pretty nasty. And so you know that when you're worried about something, when something doesn't feel quite right, then there's some sort of reason for that, and that is complexity. It's not the problem with complexity is that it's not that it's that hard to spot. Often it's a big surprise, like, gee, I didn't see that coming. But more often than not, right now, because none of us are looking for it, we just ignore it as it goes by. Or worse yet, we go into denial about it. Like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. It's too complex. We'll figure it out when we get there. Well, you do have to figure it out. You have to figure it out now. So there's a couple of things we can do. So the first is just the notion of discovery. So let's say that right now you're about to move something into this worried state, right? It's over here in options and you're going to move it into worried, or maybe you're even going to work it into some work. Well, why don't you do a little bit of upfront planning and see if you can't get that into a state where you've got, maybe this is like a great big ticket, and then you move it into three or four small tickets that fit in here, or some combination of these two, so that you don't get into this red zone, into this worried zone where it's going to be complex. Or you recognize that like, let's just say that this is the, I believe it is, yes, the complex task with the little thing here. So let's just say that you know that this is going to be complex. Well, then when we move it into an active state, then we'll actually note up front, this is a complex task. And then when we have that complex task, and we're going to move it into doing, then we have all sorts of things that we need to do when we move it into doing. So I've moved a complex task into doing, and I know that I at least have to pair with somebody on this task, or maybe we have to get together as a group, or we have to involve the client while we're doing the task. So in the article, I talk about a project that we had where a lot of our tasks were going to be this complex. There, we were just going into an entirely unknown domain, and we wanted to make sure that the client got the work that they wanted in a way that made sense. And there were so many unknowns, so many different directions we could go, that it was pretty clear that when we turned in anything, even if it worked perfectly, they would have tons of questions. Why did you make this decision? Why did you make that decision? I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that. But they weren't there. They didn't know. This is one of the worst things in the world about doing work and then taking it in for somebody to say whether they like it or not. If there's a wide range of variation in the work, if the work can go wrong in all sorts of ways, then you want to involve your customer, whether they're internal or external, as closely as possible in the work that you're doing in real time so that they can make those decisions with you. And that's what we did with one of our or several of our clients, and it worked really well. We were able to deliver groundbreaking, interesting things quickly and effectively because we were making decisions with the people who cared. All right. So in this case, it is also possible. We'll just add a new card here that says the thing. So this new thing comes along, and we're working on the new thing, and we pull it into doing, and then we get into doing and we realize that there's one of these problems with it. Like we had to do a lot of extra learning to get this ticket done, or we had to talk a lot to get this ticket done, or stuff like that, that we can actually annotate the card and say, this thing, and I'll just put it up here, this thing was had a lot of learning and scope creep uh, that we didn't expect. Okay. And we can beat ourselves up about that, but it's just the reality of the thing. So then later, when we move this ticket into done, or we move this ticket into done, there's some more stuff. But now we know, either because of the text or because of this, that later on when that we got to come back and we got to look at these and say, why were these this way, and how can we better deal with them in the future? So when we're solving a problem, do we have patterns and practices of how we work together, how we quickly solve a problem, how we define the problem, how we engage in new resources, how we understand pretty quickly that there's going to be a change in funding or delivery or what have you, that it's going to impact other things? Not only how are we solving the problem, but then how are we making sure that the system as a whole is that the negative impacts from that change are minimal and the positive impacts from that change are optimized.